Hello and welcome to Boomer Live once again, ladies and gentlemen. And here we are to preview India versus England, a massive game of the World Cup. Because remember, a lot of people have already written this game off saying there's a dead rubber, but not really, because India will be eyeing on a semi-final spot, and England would want to redeem themselves and keep themselves in the hunt for some bit of hope that they have in this World Cup. So England is not yet knocked out, and India haven't yet qualified for the semi-final. Just so that all of you know, that India have already qualified and England have been knocked out. So that's not the case. So this game is such an important factor in a lot of sense on that basis. But we're going to be talking about this game. The news is already that England have won the toss. They're bowling first. India are unchanged. England are unchanged. And India will be batting for the first time in this World Cup, batting first for the first time in this World Cup. I have Sandipani and Jaren with me. Sandipani is such an important game when it comes to a context of not losing momentum for Team India. Because remember, from here on, every game is very important when it comes to peaking at the right time before the semi-final. Or else, if you want to get hammered, today is the best day to get hammered as well. Because then it's not a bad thing to say that you have been on the winning streak and when will that lose come? Will that loss come in the semi-final or final? But as Dhoni also rightly mentioned in a show recently, that it's that knocks what you get on the way really helps you to win the World Cup. And if you look at last three World Cups, all the teams have lost on their way to the championship.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you are the dominating Australian side who were really dominating in 2003, 2007, 1999, then you are bound to lose a game in your conquest for the World Cup. And I think it's the right thing to do as well. And today will be the biggest challenge for India because they are batting first, number one. And also, it was interesting to note that Rohit Sharma at the toss mentioned that even if they would have won the toss, they would have elected to bat first. So I think India were looking to test their batting strength and how they go about trying to set a total. We have seen in the last 5 games that they are good enough to defend a total, even under extreme pressure as well. Because in the game against Australia, they were under extreme pressure. There was some pressure in the game against New Zealand as well after losing wickets in regular intervals. But there was that one batter in all the 5 games that has really stayed throughout the innings from one end and really helped India to cruise to victory in all the 5 games. So I think that is going to be important. Even while setting a target, you have to have that one player, one out of the top three, will have to go on and play that huge knock of say 100, for India to sort of get the momentum in the innings and go on to score 300, 320. I don't think that there will be any change in the approach in the way how Shubman Gill or Rohit Sharma bats. I think they will be looking to really attack this low on confidence England bowlers, we can say, because they have really gone for plenty, and then there is a sure lack of confidence in that English lineup. So India would be looking to exploit that. From the English standpoint, I think they have gone unchanged as well, and I think that is just putting faith on your boys and just asking them to get the job done. I think on paper they have the team to beat any team on any given day, but it's just they haven't really clicked in this tournament together. So I think this today is going to be a good game, and don't just count out England because they are low on the points table, because I think this is a really strong, as I said, one of the strongest teams in the World Cup in terms of the paper strength, or at least on paper, or even if you consider the bench strength as well. There are the most expensive player in the IPL is sitting out today, so you can just make you can clearly see that they have the capability in the squad to go out there and do the job for them. It's going to be interesting to see how they respond to the pressure, because England will be under severe pressure because they are still not yet out of the World Cup. If they would have been out of the World Cup, they could have played party spoilers to other teams. But right now, they are still under extreme pressure on a 4 game losing streak. Sorry, 3 game losing streak. They lost the first one very convincingly as well. So I think they have a lot to prove, and they haven't really clicked with the bat as well. So if India are not able to post anything in excess of 300, then I think England will have their works cut out, and they can really go to their depths, batting depths, and take this game away.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one because when you talk about batting depth as well, India does not have that, but whereas England has got that. But let's talk about this Indian team from a different angle as well. Now, when you talk about the top run getters, you have a Rohit Sharma at 307, Virat Kohli at 354. Then your third run getter is still around 177. Then your fourth at Shreyas at 130. But how big a game it is for someone like a Shreyas Iyer, Jiran, because he's not really come good in this World Cup, you can say. So, such an important time in a World Cup, you're setting a target. You might want to see a number four play a big knock. He'll get an opportunity for sure. because he will be coming into bat at some stage. Until unless you're going to have a incredible batting performance, he's not going to get at all. I don't think that's going to be the case, especially when you're setting up a target. You are going to get some bit of opportunity, and for Shreyas Iyer especially, how big it is for him to not let it go away today and maybe score big and gain some confidence leading into the final end of this tournament.
I mean, if you really look at it, and if you look at Shreyas Iyer, the way he's performed, he's still got an average of 43, a strike rate of 91 in that 130 runs that he scored so far. You would probably say that is not a bad thing, but the issue with him has been he's not played that innings we want him to play yet. He's not got a lot of opportunities as well. I think the two opportunities that he got was one against New Zealand and one against Australia, where he could have played the knock where India needed him to play that knock, and both the time, he really did not capitalize on it. And you would say that is exactly the reason why you would say Shreyas Iyer is at this position. But he still had a decent World Cup. It's just that we know his potential is a lot better. And I think the fact that Shreyas Iyer is still not had his potential World Cup shows the kind of batting that India has shown. I mean, it just shows how comfortable India is at this position. And I think the fact that India is batting first will almost certainly mean he gets an opportunity. I think there's something that's going to be in today's pitch, right? I think it's going to turn a little bit more. That's what also the pitch report, that's what Ravi Shastri and Nasir Hussain alluded to. And I think if there's no due today, England's choice might just be the wrong choice. That's why I feel that it's not going to be. It's still a tricky pitch to decide whether you want to bat first or bat second. That's probably where I also feel it was good for Rohit Sharma to lose the toss. That headache is gone, and I felt with both the teams, right, they have not made their decision on the basis of the pitch, because I think the pitch. I still believe there's going to be some turn on it, and like Nasir Hussain rightly mentioned.
But yeah, there was a funny news report which is going on. There's a used pitch, but that's not the case. It's a fresh wicket what they've given. So so whatever plans you had to play, Ashwin also might have gone off, because a lot of rumors were that Ashwin will be playing because it's the same used wicket which they had used for Sri Lanka, Australia, and South Africa, Australia as well. So that's at least now you can put that for rest. It's a fresh wicket. So in a fresh wicket like this, you do not know how it is going to play out. With every Lucknow surprise is a surprise which is holding on to you. You don't know how it is going to play out under the lights. So in that particular regard, you would want to at least aim for a 290, 300 score. Because you've seen in the World Cup, scoreboard pressure is a massive factor. And especially in a team like England who has struggled themselves, I mean, to have anything in excess of 300 means you can literally bat them out.
Absolutely. And I think that's where I feel both the teams, right? With India, the idea was to bat first because they wanted to test out their batting today. And England as well, from what Josh Butler said, the only thing I could gather is he wanted to bat first because that's always been England's strength. And again, I'll go back to what Nasir Hussain said about this team. I think England is a very good team. They're still a very good team. It's just that they've been having 3 bad weeks, and it's come at the worst possible time, being the World Cup. But you never know. This team can just turn around like this. It's not like there were a lot of glaring holes in this team. It's just that this team has missed an X factor player. But all these lads have got that X factor in them. I mean, you've got Butler, you've got Stokes, you've got Joe Root, who's not performed, Mark Wood, Chris Foakes. All these lads have got that X factor in them. And we've seen that X factor come out in previous occasions. It's just that altogether it's been a complete issue, and I think it's also got to do with the fact that they've been playing high quality cricket for a long time, and there has to be a point where there's a drop off, and I think that point has just come today. I mean, not today, but rather in these few weeks, and that happens to every team. And I think you shouldn't really look at this team and judge them by what's happened in this World Cup or the past few weeks. Look at this team throughout the whole time this team has played together, right? And they've had some great moments. This team has changed the way one-day cricket is played, the way T20 cricket is played. So they are trendsetters, and they've got some of the legends of English white ball in them. I think that's for sure. There'll be no arguments on it. And I think that's why India will be wary as well. India knows that, and that's why India shouldn't look at the last few matches that England has played. They should look at this team with the potential that they have, and the potential they have is to definitely beat India.
Absolutely. Let's go on. It's a good one, especially because of the potential. If you look at that team on the paper, you can still say that's one of the best teams on the paper because that's what they can do on a given day. But Sandipani, let's talk about an England team who can possibly upset. Which is that one player who you're eyeing? And for me, I'd say Johnny Bairstow is yet to fire in this World Cup. And if you look at his past record against India, it isn't too bad. And if you want to draw inspiration, you can draw inspiration from the knock, which he played against India in the 2019 World Cup. and that's going to be something you'd want to repeat. And he's had a very mellow World Cup so far. And a player like Johnny Bairstow is a player who can get going at any point to stage in this World Cup. And a game like this today, he'd be pumped up to do well against India.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Johnny Bairstow really needs this knock, because I think the selectors have had put in a lot of faith in him to go along with him, even after so much injury concerns over the last 3 years. I think that has been England's downfall, like we spoke in the last slide, that they are trusting players to do the job for them, even after coming out of an injury, or a lot of players are getting quotas coming out of retirement just to play the World Cup. It is something that I mean, the World Cup process is something that it should not ideally work this way. Like a Mahendra Singh Dhoni, or I mean, Dhoni started making his own team 3 years prior to the World Cup, and you can't have players walking out of the retirement and playing and having a great impact in the game in 2023. So that is what I think England went wrong in this World Cup. But talking about today's game, I feel even a Ben Stokes needs to come in and step up, or even say a Moeen Ali. I think Moeen Ali, a lot was expected of him, both with bat and ball. And
Absolutely.
given
Yeah.
subcontinent conditions, I think he has been a bit disappointing with the ball. With the bat as well, we haven't seen the Moeen Ali that we saw for CSK in the last 1 or 2 years. So I think it's high time that players
No,
like Moeen
yeah.
Ali and Ben Stokes step up.
I have to ask a question on that, right? I'm so sorry, Sandeep, for cutting you off, but I always feel this English team has never utilized Moeen Ali, the batter, in the way he has been utilized in franchise cricket. He's done really well in IPL. He did well for RCB. He's done well for CSK. Not just in the IPL, he does well all around the world when he plays franchise cricket. But I just feel with England, he's never really reached the potential, and I think it's got to do with the kind of role they give him. He's always come lower down the order.
No, I think, but Jaren, you
And
don't
I
have a
just
role,
feel,
right? Yeah, I mean, sorry, I
right.
mean, but you don't have a particular role. You can't have a particular role for Moeen Ali in a team that has David Malan, Joe Root, Ben Stokes, and Josh Butler. You can't put him anywhere at the top five, and then you have to probably give him the best role that he can have with the bat is at number six. And I think that is in itself underutilizing Moeen Ali's true potential, because franchise cricket for his own team, in even in the NatWest T20 Blast, he comes in at number
Yeah.
three. For CSK, you see him coming in at number three. Even for RCB, in a packed team which had the likes of Kohli, Duplessis, or say De Villiers as well, he used to come in
Yeah.
at number three. So I mean, how can you utilize him at number three for England when you have two players in the form of David Malan and a Joe Root, and also you have a Harry Brooks sitting on the sidelines, somebody
Yeah.
touted to be the next big thing in England. And I mean, clearly the signs from what we have seen, I think at least in subcontinent conditions, he's no Joe Root.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. You're right. You're right in pointing that out. But maybe it's time to maybe even check Harry Brook as that opener in this World Cup. I mean, I know it's early stages, but if England falters today, it's not a bad option to go there. I mean, he's got the ability to open the batting. He's done that already in IPL. I know his stats aren't the most best when it comes to looking into that, but maybe not a bad option. He's better than a
But
David
then,
Malone,
Abel, do
and
you really drop a informed David Malan? I mean, David Malan did get
Yeah.
that century against
Um,
Bangladesh, or do you drop the completely out of form Johnny Bairstow?
I think I'd still
I
drop Joe
mean,
Root, push David
yeah.
Malone to three, and then have Harry Brook open the
So
innings.
because
But I
David
don't know
Malan
That
if
is
has
going
been
to be
the
a bold
best
call.
batter in this team, Abel. I mean, if you look at probably in one-day cricket, especially in the World Cup, the best place to be as a batter is have an above average of above 40 and a strike rate of above 100. That's the
But
sweet spot, right?
if you look,
And David Malan is the
David
only
Malan
player
has played
in
at
this.
one knock of 140, and rest has all
Agree,
been extremely
agree,
middling.
agreed. I
But
absolutely
even
agree, and that's the reason why his
but even
average
if
was
you
so
see the
buffer
last
run.
2 years, I think in 23 innings, David Malan became the in that Bangladesh game itself, he became the fastest in terms of innings to score six ODI centuries. So I think 23 innings, 6 centuries. He has been consistent for England over the last 1.5 years or so.
Yeah, and he's been your best batter throughout. I know that 140 is the reason why his average is so inflated.
Inflated.
Absolutely agreed. But his strike rate has not been bad. And if you look at everyone else, right, he's the only one who scored 200 plus runs. Everyone else has scored less than that. So I think, including Harry Brooks, you would have to say that he's the best option right now out of everyone else. Even though he's not really your, I mean, ideally you wouldn't have David Malan in this team the way he's played. You remove that 140, he's only scored 62 odd runs. But the same is equal to everyone else. I mean, no one else has been able to score that much either.
Yeah,
So then, isn't it really harsh to
I still
ask?
think I still think either David Malan bats at number three or Harry Brooks should be in this team, because Joe Root doesn't
Yeah.
really give me that confidence. Or
I
what I was asking was David Milan to bat at number 3 in this team, and I think he's a better batter at number 3 than opening. And that's something which he'll be better suited as well, because he bats number 3 in T20, he bats number 3 in domestic setups. For him to open alongside Johnny Bairstow, maybe that combination isn't really
and
working
I
well.
think, just to be the devil's advocate and say from what you're saying, perspective you're saying, Abel, England in the power play in the first 10 overs has only scored at 5.32 runs per over. When was the last time you ever heard of that? 2015 probably is the only time you heard England scoring at 5.32 runs per over, and
Yeah.
they're losing wickets as well. I mean,
And not just
uh,
that, it's putting a lot of pressure on Johnny Bairstow also to up the ante, because I know David
precisely,
Davidman's
precisely.
strike rate has been
Yeah,
great, but
and
that's not really working in combination. When you're Jason Roy,
yeah,
you saw one person at least take those odd risks. And right
yeah,
now, what England needs is a batter who can take those odd risks. Be
and yeah,
unorthodox at times. Take
yeah,
a little bit of those risks, put the ballers under pressure. That also
absolutely.
ease Johnny Bairstow into his innings, and then Johnny Bairstow also can start building up. So
And
I
that's
I
think
what
mean,
we
that's the
England,
want.
reason
first of
why
all, they
everyone was
need role
upset.
clarity at the top. I think
I mean,
role
that's the
clarity at the
reason
top
why
and
everyone
middle.
was so upset. So sorry, Sandhimani. That's the reason why
Yeah, yeah,
everyone
go
was
ahead.
so upset when you dropped the Jason Roy, who scored the third highest runs for you in this year, and that is absurd. The most absurd decision ever. I think the only decision that rivals this kind of absurd selection was when they brought in Vijay Shankar instead of an Ambati Raidu. I mean, that still made some cricketing sense. This was an absolute blunder, and I think at the top of the order where England really prided on getting that start, that has never come good, and that's also led to the fact that now you're losing wickets. You've lost 9 wickets
Yeah,
in 5 matches in the power play, and
And
still
also
scored at
not to forget,
5.3
Jerin,
runs
that
per
he
over.
was not only scoring the runs in the international cricket, but he was also consistent in any T20 leagues or
Yeah,
whatever format or leagues he was
yep,
playing in the white ball format. I think he was one of the most consistent batters up
exactly.
top. So it was
I know
absolutely fascinating. But also, I think
there was a lot of people who went out to say Jason Roy struggles against leg spin, but look at Harry Brooks' record against leg spin. It's considerably worse, or even more worse than Jason Roy at the point. So it doesn't make any sense for me to actually have had to drop Jason Roy. But I think we are way too late to talk about it. We've had
of
multiple
course.
discussion on this,
Yeah.
but I think
but I
today is
think the
another
middle
very
order needs to
important.
click. I think the biggest
Yeah,
thing that England needs
very
to do is
important
the
day for
middle order
Josh
needs to click.
Butler. That's what I was coming into.
Yeah.
Important day for Josh Butler to start scoring runs. And as we spoke about Shreyas Iyer, it is even more important for Josh Butler, the skipper, to start scoring runs.
Yeah,
Because if
absolutely.
Josh Butler scores runs, this team looks extremely different. But if Josh Butler, so far, he's had a very mellow tournament. If he's going to have this kind of a tournament, England becomes a considerably a weaker team in the middle order. And teams will look to target that, and teams will look to ball them out. And that's how they've been balled out in more of these games. You know how their middle order hasn't really
Um,
come into the party.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think three names, right? I'll add two more names to it: Joe Root and Ben Stokes. Ben Stokes, Joe Root, and Butler are absolutely necessary for this team to do well, because these are the only three guys who boast of a very good average, whom you can bank on these guys to score runs. Stokes hasn't scored runs in one day cricket. I mean, he's not played one day cricket since 2019. So, understandably, he's taking time to get used to it. That's also one of the reasons why I was really surprised he's playing this year, because he wasn't going to ball,
yeah,
and you're not going to see that same fielding efforts that he did in the 2019 World Cup, because since 2019 things have changed with Stokes. He's got a chronic knee injury. He's not going to run that hard. He isn't
mm,
going to ball for you. So he isn't the same player anymore. But even then, you still need Stokes, because that's how brittle this middle order has been. And you need Joe Root. Joe Root is again the glue that holds this team together. I
yeah,
think every single time throughout till the 2019, right, 2015, 2019, whenever they had a batting breakdown, one guy raised his hand, and that was Joe Root, would save
yeah,
his team and bring the team to the 30th over for the loss of 3 wickets, 4 wickets. And from there on, Stokes, Butler, and Moeen Ali on days would really pick on. But that has not happened yet. Butler, too, we've seen him play. I think there was this one, the innings, right, where Butler broke through, where the Sri Lanka series, where Sinanayaka was bowling really well. Sri Lanka put them under pressure. The same year when they won the Test series as well.
yeah.
You
The Mount
saw
Fanning
Yeah,
incident took
Butler
the
place.
series where
playing those.
Sinanayaka was choking really well.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's where you
chucking
saw.
and
Yeah,
KKR has had a history with chucking ballers, so I'm not surprised.
I think if you play for
See
KKR,
who
you
brings
end
up
up.
IPL. Jerin, see who brings up IPL. Talking about Abel's point yesterday.
Yeah,
But okay, I also
but I
feel
mean,
that
just
Josh
to,
Butler.
just to talk about it, right? I think
Yeah.
Butler has been that guy. So, but I know people
But I
talk about
feel
Butler
also
as the
Butler, the
one.
pressure of captaincy is somewhere getting into him because the team is not doing well. You
I
see,
think you can't blame Butler, right? A team is as good as. I mean, you look at this team.
no, but you
Like
have
this
to
is
say
going
this,
through
that some
the
of the decisions that Butler has taken along with the role clarity. I mean,
absolutely.
Butler has to specify the role clarity as well. That is the job of
I
the captain
think
also.
I think in many ways, even though there was a seamless transition with between Butler and Morgan, I would have still liked to see Morgan play a few more years before Butler, Morgan retired.
But
Obviously,
I
that was not
think,
possible
to
because
be
Morgan
very
was a trade,
fair,
right?
you had to have Morgan to go out after 2019. It was only fair on Morgan,
No,
and his batting
agreed,
also had deteriorated to a considerable
agreed,
amount where you couldn't
agreed.
keep him
Yeah,
in the team. But I
It
don't
was also
think
absolutely.
fair
I don't
on
think that is a valid
Ireland as
argument,
well.
because Butler, under Butler, this team
Yeah,
hadn't done any bad. I mean, just take this World Cup out. They are the
he
T20
hasn't
World
been
Champion. They did
extraordinary as a captain either.
reasonably well in almost all the bilateral series. They had not gone on to lose a bilateral series on the face of it, saying that okay, this Butler's captaincy was
Yeah,
bad. Even when Morgan was captain, there were multiple occasions where Butler was captaining Team England as well. There were days when
hmm.
Morgan used to sit out and Butler used to do. So transition was generally smooth, and Butler was the chosen
Yeah,
player. And he had done a good job for England whenever he had captain, and he has already gotten success. Let's be honest, Butler is not a bad captain. He is a T20 world champion. So I don't think there is any basis in saying that Butler needed time or something like that. But I still think, as you mentioned, Jaren, at the start of the show, it's a blip which this English team is going through, and it happened in the
yeah.
worst possible time.
I
And also,
mean,
there's a transition with this English team.
Yeah, and
you
exactly like
can't
that.
blame
That
the.
itself, I mean, Butler, after taking on the captaincy, even for say a RR, whenever he has captained Rajasthan Royals, or for that matter, even the England team, he hasn't experienced this sort of failure. So this is, I
Hmm.
think, the first time in his phase as a captain that he's seeing that the team is not doing well. A team that is written, that is expected to perform in a certain way, is not
Yeah.
doing that, and I think that is putting a lot of pressure on him, and that is why I
I
think his
mean,
batting is also hindering a bit.
just to talk about it as well, you can't really blame Butler because no one has done well. I mean, look, if you look at the batting, everyone has either had one good innings and then really faltered,
Yeah.
or they have had no good innings. And if you look at the bowling, I think that's been more horrific. They're two fast bowlers, right? The ones who are supposed to be the
Mhm.
new ball opening pair, Mark Wood and Chris Wokes, have taken 5 wickets together. Mark Wood is going at an average of 77 and a run rate of 6.66. Chris Wokes run rate of 6.88 and an average of 82. There's nothing you can do about it. Your best bowler has been Adil Rashid. Reece Topley's done a great job, but he's injured.
Yeah.
Adil Rashid is your best bowler in this team right now, who's taken the most wickets, who's available to us for selection. He's
Yeah.
taken 6 wickets, but his average has been 38. So if
Right.
38 is your best bowler, what can you do as a captain? Look at India. Rohit Sharma's best bowler is Bumrah. He's going at an economy of 3.81, an average of
Absolutely.
16. That's a beautiful place to be.
Absolutely. I mean, if you just, just taking all that away, just watching the first over of the game, I think there's a lot of bounce in this wicket, to be very fair. And I think 300 is a good score on this wicket. If you are ready to, score well, and if you're ready to put in some bit of score about pressure, 300, 330 looks good. I mean, I want your predictions as well. What would India be eyeing on? Batting first for the first time, India would have the pressure of putting a target on the board for the first time. That's a different challenge altogether. And that's where India have faltered in the last few ICC tournaments as well, especially in T20 cricket, putting a score on the board. That's a different pressure altogether, because you are thinking a lot. You have no idea what's an ideal score on a wicket like this. So, Sandeep, I'll get to it and come to Jaren. What's an ideal score India will be looking at, considering it's a pitch which will do something under the lights?
See, I think they'll take the first 4-5 overs, and then Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill will get together. They'll, after 4-5 overs of assessing the conditions, they'll go big, and they'll aim at least 300. I say this because I feel that this Indian team has been really aggressive in this tournament, and they would continue
Yeah.
to do that and bat themselves to victory. And also, I think Rohit Sharma is that sort of a player who, if you give him that sort of start, then he'll get off to a flyer and give India a 6 runs, 7 runs per over in the power play sort of a start. Even if they take some 4-5 overs to get settled in and score only 10 to 12 runs, they can still go on and score in excess of 60 runs at the end of 10 overs. We have seen that if you are set, you can do well in conditions. And I think keeping wickets in hand is going to be key. So India would ideally not want to lose more than 2 wickets after the end of, say, 20 overs. And then even if they have assessed their conditions and assessed everything to a total of somewhere close to 300, and if they have lost only 2 wickets at the end of 20 overs, then they can probably build on that innings, and then go even further than 300 as well. There is some bounce on this track, but just get in and then go after the bowling.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's a
I
very
think
cautious start from Rohit Sharma as well in comparison to how he chased There's no run off the bat on the first 5 balls. Then,
because he does not know what is the exact conditions. I mean,
exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I was coming to. That's what I mentioned. When India is setting a target, India, that's been one of the biggest issue with the Indian team in the last 7 years or so. That's been one of the reasons why we have not been called as the modern day players because
Hmm.
we are unsure. Where it's a 330 score, we might end up
Yeah.
with 300. Where it's a 350 score, we might end up with 320. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
assessing that is so
Yeah.
important in a game like this because you could be put in this position in a World Cup semi-final. So right now is the best possible time for you to go out there, assess the conditions, and know, okay, this is a 330 score, then let's score 350, and it's a 300 wicket, let's score close to 310. So that's very important to understand that.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I think this year has been spectacular for India in the power play. If you look at two of the most runs scored in this year by any batters, the first two names are Shubman Gill and Rohit Sharma. And I mean, Rohit Sharma has an average of 98 in the power play in this year, and Shubman Gill an average of
Yeah, just to stop you
138.
there, we did
Yeah,
not speak about Shubman Gill throughout this live stream.
absolutely.
I
Shubman
think
Gill,
it's
yeah,
about time we talk about him as well. Such an
absolutely.
important game for him to come good.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's exactly what I was alluding to, right? Shubman Gill has been the best batter, I think, if I'm not wrong, in this year when it comes to averages. Yeah, he's been the best batter when it comes to averages this year in the power play 138, strike rate of 99. And obviously, we know what he's done overall as well. I think now Quinton de Kock is slightly higher than him when it comes to runs scored this year, if I'm not wrong. But even then, Shubman Gill has been spectacular. He's missed a lot of matches, and I think today could be the day where he is going for it, where he could really go after the bowling. And I think so far from the pitch that I see, the only threat I see is that, the new ball is moving a little bit, but then that's expected. Other than that, only thing I see is, it's off the air, nothing off the pitch. So I think once the ball settles down, it's going to be an easy pitch to bat on, at least when you're facing pace. Now, spinners yet to come in. So I think Shubman Gill will definitely like this kind of pitch. Rohit Sharma will like this kind of a pitch, and expect a 300 odd run scored because I still think that there's going to be something with the old ball for the spinners. So I think I would like to see how this pitch behaves after the 30th over. And till then, I think it's going to be an easy pitch to bat on.
Absolutely. I mean, so far it just looks like the ball is just having a tennis ball kind of a bounce.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
how important it is to actually, weather this storm as well. Now for English bowlers, especially Chris Wokes, he's had a bad tournament so far. If you just look from an English perspective, it's important for him to strike early in the power play. He's been used in this World Cup ahead of a Sam Curran just so that he can strike in the power play. And his record in the power play is so far so awful, and he'd want to change that around today against an Indian team who's really flying hard, and that's going to give him a lot more confidence going ahead.
exactly. And Vokes, if you just see Vokes' career throughout, he has been a very good new ball bowler. And to for him not striking in the power play and having a very mediocre power play will probably halt. I mean, really hamper his confidence. So I think from an English standpoint, I think it is going to be really, really important for them to strike early because we all know what this Indian pair can do if they survive the early storm. That is the first
Yeah.
4 to 5 overs. If they can just survive that, then I think India are on course to score well in excess of 300 because once you allow Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill to really assess the conditions, they'll go after the bowling. And I don't see this Indian team really struggling against spin because you have really, really good players of spin in terms of, say, a KL Rahul or a Shreyas Iyer, even a Virat Kohli. They're very, very good players of spin. The only point that they can really trouble I mean, the only bowler that can really trouble this Indian batting is Adil Rashid in that middle overs because he has been in
Yeah.
decent enough form. So I think if you can come in and pick up three wickets in that middle phase, that is something that India would look to avoid, and one player that India would look to play cautiously. Other than that,
Yeah.
just they can just go after the bowling because all the bowlers are low on confidence.
Then
Yeah, I
one thing
mean,
we often speak about red soil wickets. I just want to go into the
hmm.
pitch as well. In Lucknow in this World Cup, they've certainly used red soil wickets after having seen what happened with the black soil wickets in the IPL and in the bilateral series where ball wasn't even coming onto the bat. Red soil wickets, one thing which you can know is if it turns, it's going to be a high, fast turn. Bounce is going to be
Correct.
there. It's going to be faster onto the bat. With red soil wickets as well, you have to give that slight bit of initial patience in your upfront in your innings because then you can capitalize. Red soil wickets are one of those wickets where the ball does come onto the bat. Once it's settled, you can play on the bounce, you can play through the line, and I think that's so important for both the teams today. Looking at the way in which the ball has swung so far, even under hot circumstances in Lucknow, the ball has really swung. off the wicket as well in the air. So that's going to be very important for both India and England. Be extremely temperamental as possible and not to give it away.
Yeah, I mean, just going through the pitch report, and I remember Ravi Shastri calling. I think they've brought in the curators at Lucknow have brought in that Mumbai mixture is what they call it apparently. The red soil that is there in Wankhede, and since it's a fresh pitch, you're going to be seeing a lot more bounce. It's going to behave a lot more, like Mumbai, and not the Mumbai that is today at least. The Mumbai that probably the pitch that you have today, but a lot more fresher. And you're right on the fact that it's going to bounce a lot more. There's going to be a lot more carry towards it. It's going to be a very unsubcontinent like pitch, at least for the first few games. And that's why I'm saying that two players are going to be really important. I think you already mentioned Adil Rashid. From India's standpoint, probably the likes of Kuldeep Yadav. I think he's going to get a lot more extra bounce of this pitch. And
Mhm.
that's why I would have loved to see an Ashwin on this wicket. And I think if Hardik Pandya was still fit, we would have probably seen Ravichandran Ashwin come in. But I am satisfied with the pitch. I mean, the team that we've gone with, obviously, because Ashwin coming in would have destroyed India's balance. But having said that, I think mid overs is going to be the key here, and I mean, just it's going to be interesting to see how things go. And I think that's where India should probably look to capitalize on in that power play, because the reason I say that is because if you look at again stats, right, the worst average in the power play for a bowler is Chris Stokes, and the worst economy rate in the power play is Mark Wood. And I know Mark Wood will not get any more bowling in the power play. I think he only bowled 2 overs in the power play against. I think that was against South Africa, and ever
Yeah,
since that, he's not been given bowling in the power play at all, which is a very good decision by Butler, because I think
yeah.
he's a lot better when he's got protection near the boundaries. He can surprise batters with that extra bounce and pace.
Yeah,
So I think that's where India can go after England, because in the power play again with the ball they haven't been really impressive. They've been giving runs away
yeah,
at 6.64 runs per over, not really that great, and they've only taken 8 wickets as well in 5 matches. So
yeah.
uh, in terms of that, I think India will feel like the power play is the best place to target.
Absolutely. I mean, so far in this wicket, 8 runs have been scored, 2 boundaries. One was a good shot with Shubman, and Rohit came down the track to score that. Let's
Yeah.
talk about Adil Rashid's threat today, Sandeepani, before we continue the show. Adil Rashid is such a big factor in today's game. We have to talk about him. I know Rohit Sharma has smashed Willie for a six right now, but yeah, Rohit Sharma is in the mood. He's gotten off. But yeah, Adil Rashid's threat is going to be once again important. As you mentioned about Kuldeep Yadav, another player who's going to get a lot of bounce on this wicket is going to be
Yeah.
Adil Rashid, because he's been flighting the ball well. I feel Adil Rashid has been bowling well. Unfortunately, he's missed out on wickets. If you look, Adil Rashid, the
Yeah.
ball is coming off his hand beautifully, but he's been on the rack because other bowlers haven't bowled well around him. So he's not really gotten the benefit of wickets because there's been no pressure which has been applied around him.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we have already spoken in length about this in our previous lives as well. Bowling partnerships are as crucial as batting partnerships. If you have a bowler from one end building pressure and the other from the other end, somebody is just leaking runs, you cannot build the pressure on a batsman. The batsman can just rotate you around for say 3 or 4 runs in the over and just play you out. And I think that is something that England will have to keep in mind and utilize Adil Rashid in a good manner, so that they can extract the most out of him, because Adil Rashid is a
Yeah.
wicket taker. You wouldn't mind Adil Rashid going for 70 runs if he can give you 3 to 4 wickets in that 10 over spell. And I think that is something that he can do against India today if he is utilized well, and if from the other end, the other bowler can, whoever it is, maybe even you can implement a Livingston or even a Joe Root, who can come in from the other end and apply some sort of pressure if your main bowlers are traveling. Because from what I can see so far, I mean, I understand India going with Mohammad Shami because 3 pacers is what you need in your team to maintain that balance. But I wouldn't personally. I know that it would have been a wrong call to get in an Ashwin, but me being a fan, I could have even gambled with Ashwin with just the 2 pacers and 3 spinners, because it is going to assist spinners. Unless there is some massive dew coming in the second innings, then it will be a problem for the spinners. So
Absolutely.
interesting call from India, but I guess at the end of the day, the right call. I can't be biased and say that not getting Ashwin. Sorry, Jenin, I think you're on mute.
You're on mute.
That's what I want to say as well, right? With Hardik Pandya, if Hardik Pandya was available for selection, you would have had a Hardik Pandya, Jasprit Bumrah, and a Mohammad Siraj, and then you could have gambled on dropping a Surya Kumar Yadav, because you have a batter, you won't really lose much, and then
Yeah.
you would be able to play Ashwin. Then you would have three
Yeah.
pacers and three spinners. But now, if you bring in an Ashwin, either you have to reduce your batting by dropping a Suryakumar Yadav, or you have to reduce your pace bowling by bringing in a dropping a Mohammad Shami. Either of which will completely obliterate India's balance. So that's the only
Yeah.
reason why you
Just to
feel.
cut you off, Jaren, Rohit Sharma has smoked for another six of David Willey coming down the track. He is
Yeah,
in
I
the
I,
think
I
mood.
we all
India are
spoke
back to
about
what
three
they've
to
been doing.
four overs for Rohit Sharma, but
Yeah.
I think the kind of form that he's in right now, 1 over was enough. 1 over of respect,
And
and
Prantul
then
says,
just
I just hope for an entertaining, suspenseful match. If you're an Indian fan, you want entertaining, but not a suspenseful match because that will really put you under so much of tension and pressure. Sandeep is
but I
speaking
think India
absolutely
can
great.
afford that. I think
Yeah,
India
absolutely.
at this
Sandeep is
stage
the
can
greatest.
afford that, and I think I want to see India under pressure do well batting first, because I think this will give them a lot of, if they can get over England today, and I think the South
yeah.
Africa challenge is going to be a huge one. If they can get past these two without much blips, and if they can experiment quite a bit, I mean experiment in terms of bat first, or
Hmm.
probably get into some sort of pressure and then get out of it, I think then they look good for the semifinals as well. I
Do
And
think
I
you
think
this is
think there's
important.
a
yeah.
matchup which is we are going to see? Whenever Morgan used to captain the team, whenever Virat Kohli used to come to bat, he used to throw Adil Rashid the ball.
Adil
Are we
Rashid.
going to see anything of that sort today? When if at all India loses a wicket in the power play, Adil Rashid is going to come into ball.
Would be interesting to see that, but I mean, Adil Rashid is not really that kind of bowler who will survive in the power play. I mean, he needs protection. The wickets he takes are usually a caught in I mean, a caught, or otherwise something, a stumping when a batter is trying to go after him. But he needs a protection in the back because he sometimes tends to drag the ball down, and he needs players to protect those areas, especially the cow corner area and the long on region. So I think that's where you
And
need.
also, Jaren, let's be honest. I think the Virat Kohli of 2020, 2021, and the Virat Kohli of 2023 is absolutely different. I think right now, the form that Kohli is in,
Yeah.
he is going to just knock Adil Rashid around for singles. And I think one place where India have been really
No, but then
streak
that's the
smart
thing
and
about
really,
Virat Kohli, Sandipani. The
yeah,
shots he plays for singles in a power play can easily be shots that go to the fence.
yeah,
And that's why you don't
exactly.
want to risk an Adil Rashid in the power play.
Obviously, and also I
Yeah.
think the kind of form he is in, and also I think the game awareness from this
Yeah.
Indian team has been way better than say other teams in this World Cup. I think that is why India have been really successful. They have been actually very smart on how they have gone about their business. So I think the getting in Adil Rashid in the power play is not really going to hamper India. Because
Hmm.
I feel India are just going to play out Adil Rashid. They are going to show him some respect and just probably play out in the sense they are going to give him some 40 to 50 runs. They wouldn't mind giving Adil Rashid 40 to 50 runs in 10 overs if they can really exploit the other bowlers. We can see that even after the first over being a median, Rohit Sharma just smacked Willie around for fun in the last over.
Yeah, I mean, the idea was to look at the pitch, how it behaves in the first two overs, and I think the ball has already stopped moving.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that's one fact.
that
Or else
just
you wouldn't
a
have
huge.
seen Indian batters being a lot more confident. I mean,
Yeah.
this one ball is just 1 point something overs old, and the ball has
Yeah.
stopped moving. I don't know what it is with these balls. They just stop moving all of a sudden out of nowhere.
I think in the daylight you won't really see that happen, because in the daylight, especially, you need the cricket ball to do off the seam, and it's afternoon as well. There's no wind that blows in the afternoon. Maybe early morning you would have seen something, but I mean that should have a surprise even at that New Zealand Australia match. I expected early morning something to be available for 10 bolt, but I think it's just how it is, subcontinent conditions. You know that it's not going to give you anything off the pitch. If there's something on the offer, yes. In the air, you're not going to get much.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's about it from us. I mean,
Yeah.
thank you for the good turn up today, and we've been able to cover it. We'll try to pull up a watch along. It's a mini watch along kind of thing. What we did today, in terms of the number of overs. I mean, a lot of people have commented. I mean, do not forget to check out our channel. We'll try to come back and do more of these things in the coming future. I mean, watch India matches with you all, know your opinion, take the score, to be part of the tension. Because it's just fantastic when you're watching with the community. Just you see that it's just raw. We're not here with the preconceived preparation. We do not know what to anticipate. We want to see everything live. Sandibani as raw as possible. If you want to see Sandibani's live reactions,
Sandipani
the
is a
raw
goat.
Sandibani you have not seen, unfiltered.
Yes. Sandipani is a goat. Unfiltered
Pull us
Sandipani
out.
is the.
Shubman Gill has bowled. We have lost a
Oh,
wicket.
I think seeing me unfiltered in conditions where the team I'm supporting is not doing well is not a pretty sight. And I
So
think
no,
the
I
Jalen,
think.
shot that
Jalen
Shubman Gill
Sandibani,
tried to
that's
play was not a
another
pretty sight.
disappointment for Shubman Gill. He's been out bowled by Chris
Yeah.
Stokes. It was a good ball, but disappointment, isn't it?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
think it
mean,
was just bizarre.
go ahead.
Just, I mean, you had a good start. You had 4 runs in the over. The shot that he attempted, I think, it's something that Shubman Gill should be past right now. I think the kind of form that he was in, but I think after the dengue, once he has come back, I think he hasn't really got himself going because
But
now if you
I
see,
know one thing about Shubman is that he comes good in big games, like the
yeah.
semi-finals, the finals.
Yeah, but this will start to. I mean, not a concern yet because he's getting the team off to a flyer, but still averaging only 25.5 in conditions where.
But today was a day. Today he should have done
Yeah,
better.
yeah.
I mean, that ball driving length, which is put up by Chris Wokes, he fell into the trap. Big,
And
big
now this is going to
Virat
give
Kohli
Chris
walking
Wokes
in
a lot
now.
of confidence. We have been saying about Chris Wokes being a very good new ball bowler, not really coming good in this tournament. But I think the early wicket is what England wanted. First 4 overs, India just had to play out the first 4 5 overs, and
Yeah.
and they lost the wicket on the brink of the fourth over. So
Hint of
yeah,
seam movement there. Hint of seam movement. The ball just jagged in because if it had played through the line, the ball should have come straight. But the slight of seam movement is what did him. Then Shubman will be extremely disappointed today, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the ball was great. I mean, it was not that. I mean, it was a pretty good ball. It was a very decent delivery, but I also feel it was a very loose shot. Something that you don't want to see, because I don't think there's a lot of demons in this pitch to say that it was the delivery that really did him. It was a good length delivery, and I think that it was not really the length to go after that ball, drive the ball on the up at least. And I think that's what really
Absolutely.
undid him. That extra bounce, he did not count for that extra bounce, and that's the reason why I think he's been done.
I think from the end which
Disappointing,
Chris
really.
Wokes is bowling, there's a slight tinge of grass covering as well. I think that's
Hmm.
a lot more different. If you look how David Willey has bowled, Chris Wokes has been one ball who's got something off the wicket in this 4 overs so far, more than David Willey, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's a patch of grass, as you've rightly mentioned, and that is slightly making the ball talk when it comes to Box. But you expect a Shubman Gill to, play that. I think it's not. It's not the kind of jag. It's not the kind of length where the ball is jagging in and out. It's a slight bit of movement, and sometimes that can spell trouble. But you expect a lot more from Shubman Gill. That's the kind of standard he set for himself, and I think very disappointing. I know
I
he'll be
think
the
you
most
shouldn't
disappointed.
expect a gap between bat and pad from Shubman Gill. I think Shubman Gill
Yeah,
getting bowled
yeah.
But
off
it's
the inside
happened
edge
way too
is.
often now for Shubman Gill as well.
I think
Yeah, I think
sometimes it goes.
getting trapped in front is something that Shubman Gill has experienced
Yeah.
quite a lot in the last couple of say last year or so, and also inside edges hitting the stumps. So I think that is a part of the game that he can really work on, and probably the in swinger that is coming in early on in his innings. I think that is where he is a bit tentative while driving to a ball that is pitched in the good length.
Absolutely, absolutely. We were going to end the live. That's when Shubman Gill got out. So we had a good elongated discussion on Shubman Gill. And that's about it
I
from us
love the
now.
fact that Aisha came in just to see our reactions. Aisha,
No,
I
no,
would just like to say it's
I
okay.
wouldn't want to stay in this
Enjoy.
live when Kohli is batting and there is. I mean, we should just go out of the live and just watch him.
I think
Gill
Sanjivani will
out,
give support
Princess
here.
out. Okay. At least we have someone to call Prince, but you don't. But that's about it. All right, it's good to see. I mean, good to see people joining, and a lot of people have joined in.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Have a good time, and we'll be back after the game. See you. Take care.
See you guys. See you guys.